what happened was people would reach out with these really emotional stories of how Marco Polo had helped, them build a new friendship, reconnect with an old friend, mend a relationship with a family member. And so I'm like, I need to be talking to these people. So I started a Meagan Marco Polo account, and I would pick up my phone and I would polo these users that emailed in and be like, hey, I saw your email. I was really inspired. Tell me your story.
We did it. We're here. Mallory.
Again.
You and me back together again.
Forever.
Who knew? Who knew?
We knew.
Look at us.
I knew. Look at us. Look at us. Look at us.
There we go. Well, very excited to be hanging out, recording again today. I would be remiss if I didn't say welcome to No Surprises, a look inside the ambitious, joyful, and occasionally terrifying journey of creators. We are going to have such a fun conversation today, and I can't wait to introduce you to our fabulous guest, so much so that I'm going to let Mallory do it.
Yeah. We're not going to bury the lead anymore. Today with us, we have Meagan Allers, who is the head of community and partnerships for Marco Polo. You know it, that video chat app that some of us got really into during COVID and beyond, myself included. It was my primary form of communicating with my family and friends, and we got into some real shenanigans. So Meagan, we're thrilled to have you here.
Woohoo! Thanks for having me on. Excited to chat today.
It was funny when I was talking to Lindsay, who's the one that linked us up, and she brought up Marco Polo. I stopped dead in my tracks because I was like, oh, like the video app, like the one where I was so deep into it during lockdown. Like it was my everything. It was the one thing that I was like, oh, back in the moments when we thought this might only last for a month or two. And I was like, I need to find new fun ways to connect to my friends. And lo and behold, we were given the gift of Marco Polo, which has been around longer, right?
Yeah. So we actually launched in 2016.
Okay, so it's been a minute. So we came to it a little late, but man, did it ever have a purpose and a great divine timing.
So 2016, I mean, that's like a fairly long time. We're almost we're 2014 company.
Yeah.
So
I thought you were gonna say we're coming in on
I would never reveal. Never that we're both 22 years old. 22 American years old.
I can't believe that we started this when we were 11.
I know, it's 12. Weird. No, I was going to say we've been around for about 9 years. So you all are around 7 years. That's a long time in technology.
Yeah. It's been quite a journey. It's been so amazing.
How long have you been a part of the Marco Polo team?
Yeah, so I had been there 7.5 years now. So I was an early employee at Marco Polo. I was our first non-engineering hire. And I remember coming across the company. I was working in startups, and we're actually founded by a husband and wife team. Cool. And so the founder, Vlada, reached out to me, and she was like, I don't have a job description for you, but I'm looking with someone who can kind of do some of this and some of this. And I'd love to have a call with you. And I'm like, okay, I love the vision that you have of really wanting to help people feel close. Let's have a call. But it was the first, the job title was at first just super awesome. We love to say.
Really?
Yes, amazing. I love that. Where it's like, what do you do? What do you do?
That's amazing. Super awesome. Hiring one, super awesome.
Yeah.
So how did your role evolve into community? I mean, I think this is such an interesting thing, because my initial understanding is or my experience with Marco Polo is that it really built community between me and the people I sent videos to.
Yeah.
But I imagine that your role is really different than just those, individual user interactions.
Yes. So it started with customer support, which was the first thing. And so from the very beginning, our founders have been really big on, we want to talk to our community. We want to understand our users. We want to hear their feedback, and we really want to take that into account when building a product. And so I started off with email support and building out a team there, and also answering answering reviews coming in from the App Store and Play Store. So as a developer, you can actually go in and respond and answer and say thank you for your feedback. And so it started there. And what happened was people would reach out with these really emotional stories of how Marco Polo had helped, them build a new friendship, reconnect with an old friend, mend a relationship with a family member. And so I'm like, I need to be talking to these people. So I started a Meagan Marco Polo account, and I would pick up my phone and I would polo these users that emailed in and be like, hey, I saw your email. I was really inspired. Tell me your story. And I would get these amazing testimonials and I'd share them back with our team and they'd feel inspired. And so this idea of just like going beyond like an email and actually building relationships with our users is what really kind of like took off.
That's so cool. And I think that's such a the word that comes to mind is earnest, such an earnest engagement of your community of people who use the tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's been really wonderful too, because then I started noticing patterns, the military community, military spouses really love Marco Polo because of time zones that they're moving every 2 years. So I started seeing like that was something. And then moms like are loving Marco Polo that, they're busy and maybe if they're on a phone call and like, so that started coming up. And then you started getting like business owners, coaches and entrepreneurs who are using it with their teams and clients. And I'm like, wait a minute, like there's something going on here with like this group. And so you started to see these different communities that emerge even on our platform.
That's really, really cool. I was doing a little bit of like research in advance of our conversation together, and I saw that through line of, military families, which makes so much sense, right? Like whether you're a whole family that is living in another country away from your extended family or an individual who's deployed, I'm sure that's like a lifeline, right? Mm-hmm. So exciting. I also loved seeing that there's different like groups of people who are using this, not just like families. Mm-hmm. Can you speak a little bit more about how these like Marco Polo communities have kind of popped up?
Yeah. I remember very early on, we got an email in the inbox that was like, I'm going to go live with my entire team. And I've got, a couple thousand people talking about Marco Polo. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, who is this? Like, what's going on? And, it's an individual who had a team of all these people and were using Marco Polo to have a more personal kind of connection in how they were coaching their team. And so I started seeing these like different use cases pop up through like our social media or through people writing in via email. So, real estate agents using Marco Polo to show homes to out-of-state buyers, or masterminds, that you're doing a coaching circle and getting people there because it's so asynchronous. You can do this across time zones, which was really powerful. Entire companies using it as a way to like build rapport in between maybe like text-based Slack messages or emails. One I love is this woman, Mama D, runs a coffee shop and she's got like 2 different locations and uses it with her team to be able to show like, hey, this is broken or like this is going on, to like give that kind of depth to the conversation.
It really took on a life of its own. And it seems like it really went in this organic direction too. Like you just were sort of like, I'm going to produce this product. Now I'm going to listen. Okay. Now this stuff is going to end up driving some of our choices here. Okay. This is what people want. And then you start flushing out these different demographics and groups that like, if you would have told me someone was using it for a work purpose, I would have been like, really? But what? It makes a lot of sense, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm so fascinated by like how users can end up leading tech companies, because I feel like you hear so much about, companies who are making these really significant choices on behalf of their communities without necessarily taking their needs into account. But I noticed that you all have the Community Bill of Rights on your site.
Yeah.
And I think I'm very familiar with rules for communities, but I'm so curious to know a little bit more about like, how did that come to be? Was that always a part of the DNA of the company, or is that something that kind of grew out of your user base?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from the get-go, the purpose of the company was to help people feel close. And like back in 2016, and even before that, when our founders were working on different products, sending videos over text message like wasn't easy to do. And it was like, that was a whole thing. And Skype was, on the desktop was the main way to do it. And so this idea of like really wanting to bring people together was definitely core to like all that we were working on. And so with that, we knew we wanted to build a company in a different way, that, so many in the, social media, if you will, or communication space go down the ad route of like having ads in a product or selling user data. And we knew that with the heart of like wanting to build this for families, for friends, we didn't want to go that way. We wanted to feel really safe. We wanted it to be a place that you could come on and be able to share like authentically and vulnerably with like your inner circle. And so that was very central to us. We came out with a community bill of rights in 2020, 2021 timeframe, and really wanted to just like share that with our community. And so many have messaged in being like, this is awesome. Like, because I know that like going on Marco Polo, I'm not going to be served like an algorithm or anything like that. I come on, I can feel that connection and closeness, and then I can go about my day.
Oh, I love that. I feel like there's always this drive from social media companies, especially, to somehow become a part of every moment of someone's day. And I think it's so refreshing to be like, the goal is to help you feel closer with people that you know and love, or people that you are collaborating with, or people that you have a relationship with. It's not the For You page. It's not, inspired by your likes. It's not, here's someone you went on a date with 5 years ago and they're still in your contact, so you must know each other and want to know about each other's lives. Yes. Like, that's exhausting. That level of like, and that doesn't make you feel closer.
No.
So I think that's such a great like interpretation of your company's values.
Yeah. And I think a piece of that comes with it is like, we don't have a ton of filters on Marco Polo. And so like, especially very early on, people are like, wait, like I want filters like I have on other platforms, like make me look a certain way.
Yeah.
We're like, no, this is about being your authentic self. Like, come on with like your bedhead or, however you might be, because you're showing up to a close, friend or whatnot. And like, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like most of my Marco Polo shots were ridiculous photos to my friends and family. And like, that's the reason I loved it, is because it was just so easy to use and so rapid fire and like a game almost.
Yeah. So it seems like one of the like strengths of the company is like, what your values are, the community that you're trying to serve. What place does evolution fill in that? Like, do you aspire to continue pushing the product forward or doing different things with it? Or is it really more like deepening, this is our core offering, this is what we do, we want to be the best at doing this thing that we're doing now?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. I think we continue to listen to our community and to take down like feature requests and kind of what we're hearing. And also just like, the evolution of where, video is going and where, technology is going as well. And so I think that, we want to continue, video is like our bread and butter, and we definitely want to keep serving video in a way that it's convenient for people to be connecting. But then also, like we said, like we kind of worked with friends and family, and now we're seeing like this business community come up, and so what do they need and how can we serve the product for that audience as well? And so I think it's a mix of both, if you will.
I saw that you also have Marco Polo for Impact. What is that? Can you tell us?
So that came out of these emails that I was receiving of people using Marco Polo in all of these really unique and different ways. And so people would come to me, and like my background's in education, and they would say like, hey, like, what are the best practices for using Marco Polo with a team of 20, or for coaching one-on-one clients, or for doing small group work? And I'd be like, well, let me tell you. And I realized like I need to make a community, make a space that I can have these things readily available that I can kind of like point people to. And so that's where the Marco Polo for Impact kind of started from. And so on that page, like you'll see that we have different events. I've got different like workbooks and different things that people can go to say, how do I set this up? And so really finding, I've got a number of different community leaders who like through their community, like you may pay a membership to be part of it, and they'll put their members in small Marco Polo groups that don't know each other, and that they're able to help cultivate and moderate these kinds of conversations that these individuals can get to know each other, which is really awesome. And so it's been a really great space to just learn and to hear from our community of how they're using it and allow them to connect with each other as well and learn from each other.
I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's so many legs, it's so many tentacles, and it just
so smart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I must admit that my next question is a bit fun.
Great.
This is for both of you, actually.
Okay.
You get to pick 3 television characters that you have a rousing Marco Polo group with. Who's in your group? We'll cut any
the real
contemplation
answer
time.
is
We'll put up the SpongeBob 30 hours later.
Yeah, because it's like, who do you think is going to deliver the content?
Right.
Like, I feel like Selena Gomez is one of them. Maybe it's because I love Only Murders in the Building that I know that their new
like her
season's
character out. In the show.
No, her proper, like her herself.
Oh, I'm saying, I mean, I'll accept that as an answer, but I'm also specifically asking television characters.
Same. Well,
I'm gonna dibs Roman from Succession for one of mine.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's an excellent one.
It might be inappropriate, but it would be funny.
Yeah, I've been watching The Bear, and I've been really into like the Yes Chef and like that whole group. So I feel like Carm from The Bear would have like really interesting polos of like the kitchen, like and stuff going on there. I also have to do a throwback. Michael Scott from The Office. Like
excellent
one.
Like
probably the best one. Good one.
Yeah.
Perfect answer. Perfect answer.
No.
And then I feel like my third would have to be like, I'm a fan of the Kardashians, like Khloe Kardashian, like, you know, the garden views, the pantry views, morning walk.
Show me. I want to know what's happening all during your day.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. These are all great answers. This could be the new question. Instead of who, living or dead, would you want at your dinner party? It's who do you want to use Marco Polo with?
Yeah.
Is there anyone in your life that you've really wanted to get using Marco Polo, but they just haven't been able to get there? Like they can't wrap their heads around being on camera or being like vulnerable in that way?
You know, a lot of people are on it. One person, my grandmother, 94. And so she didn't have a smartphone. I tried to get her on like the iPad to do it, and like so sweet. But she hasn't figured it out yet. So we still
and that's so hard because I'm sure she's like one of the people you would most want to do that, right?
Yes.
Right. I love that.
That's been a challenge, but no, it's been great. So many friends have gotten on board, which is really fun to be able to have those memories for sure.
That's really cool. So I know that Mal mentioned this at the top of the episode, but COVID really changed how we all were communicating with each other, and it seems like it really accelerated the use of Marco Polo for people who had maybe never known about it before. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like, seeing it be adopted so rapidly. Were you all very excited or very much freaking out, or a little bit of both?
Thinking back, it's a crazy time, right? Because like we'd all been working from home for so long. So like our day to day was the same. Like we're logging on and getting on, and it's really, really great. And it was exciting. It was exciting to see so many people that were adopting it, you know, from the community perspective, like reaching out, like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for this. This has been really awesome. And then, you know, we had a lot of celebrity mentions during that time as well. Like Pink was using it with her daughter, and, you know, Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard talked about using it. And so that was like, wow, like, okay, this is happening. And so really exciting for sure to see the number of people that were getting on it and finding like real value from it. And then also like unique use cases coming from it. You know, there were some preschools that were using Marco Polo to do like story time for like all the parents of the class to be in a group together so that they could like play the videos, and the university professors and educators like using it in that way as well. Was really cool to see how that kind of accelerated it for sure.
Is that when things really started to take a mind of their own and sort in terms of these like separate communities coming to fruition through it?
Yeah, I think it definitely elevated it for sure. I think that also, you know, back in 2018, we had seen that there were a lot of users in like the middle of the kind of US. And so our founders like, Meagan, I want to go to Utah and have a bunch of like in-person like user interviews. And so that was a cool point as well, where we went there and had one-on-one and small focus groups, and we're really seeing like how it was being spread through families and through friend groups and through businesses as well.
Wow. Wow. So what has it been like since then? I imagine there's also some evolution in the opposite direction as there's, you know, as we're able to spend more time together in person. And I know that like growth, contraction, evolution, and change can be really difficult for any business, really challenging for any community. What's that experience been like, and how have you all been able to continue to adapt as a tool and as an organization?
Yeah. So in 2021, we launched Marco Polo Plus. And so our whole business model, because we don't sell user data, because we don't have ads, is built on this premium subscription. And so where the majority of our user base is using the app for free and they can have unlimited conversations and polos or videos, as we call them, there is a subset that pay for the service, and they get features like 2x that friend that maybe talks too slow, or uploading a photo, or sending a text-based note. And so that's been like a big thing for sure. And so I think as, you know, we've come back to more time in person and whatnot, for us, it's been going back to that root of community. And so I recently have been working on an ambassador program and getting like, I've recruited, you know, 150 of our like top Marco Polo fans, and we've had them run like a 3-month mission, having them talk about, you know, how Marco Polo's impacted their mental health and how Marco Polo's impacted their friendships. And it's been so joyful to see them sharing in these really grassroots ways about how they're using the app, about different ways you can use it, and how it's impacted these really big things like connecting with friendships and feeling less isolated and more connected in that way.
Yeah.
It must be so cool to have your like power users feel like they are a part of supporting their this business, right? Like that's so different from being a paid user on other accounts where you're sort of doing it under duress. Like how special to know that like you're not, people are doing it because they really care about it and they're excited to use other features. And as a part of that, they're a real part of that community, instead of just like, this is going to be a miserable experience unless you pay us. So if you want to keep doing this, you should pay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it's been awesome. I have a share cast with them on Marco Polo. And so I have all 150 in there. And so they're seeing me and hearing from me, and I'm hearing their stories, which has been really amazing. And something that was unique, and I think a challenge for community builders at times, is like they really wanted to connect with each other. And I'm like, oh gosh, like our groups go up to 200, but if I put 150 people in a group, like that's a lot of polos. Like, how are we going to make that work? And so, we came out with like some sub segments, and I was able to have them answer some forums of like, okay, like, are you, a woman in business, or, whatever, kids under this certain age or whatnot. And I was able to get some moderators and created 20 small groups and put them in these small groups for them to be connecting.
Smart.
And coming out of that, the like relationships that they form with one another, like having these video chats, has just been amazing. So that's been really cool as well.
That's incredible. I mean, I think that cohort model is something that I think we're going to see more and more of, right? Because it's like, there's, in the similar way of your experience, like massive expansion into new things, into new communities. I don't know about you, we're in a couple of different communities and it's amazing, but it can be really overwhelming.
Yep.
And what you really want is ultimately to make 10 good friends instead of 10,000 people you never talk to.
Yeah. This is true. Quality over quantity.
Yes.
Hashtag no new friends, but also if you get new friends, not too many. Hashtag not too many new friends.
Yeah.
I love
Put
whatever.
that on
like,
a mug.
You don't need new friends. You're fine. You have so many friends.
Making friends.
I know you are big golden retriever energy.
Yeah. But I think sometimes like we're looking for that friend to fill like a certain need for us. And so like, I recently got into like pickleball. And so like I'm welcoming pickleball friends because I want to go and like have people to kind of play with, right? And that we can
you're like, I want to play pickleball more.
Yeah, come and do this, versus like, I know many of the Marco Polo ambassadors happen to be moms, and they talk about how when you become a mom, like you want to find other moms that you can connect with and share these experiences with and get support and feedback. And so I think the life stage also really can kind of dictate friendships.
Yeah, it is. It's true. I had a son 2 years ago almost. And it's weird because like the first year I was like, I don't need any mom friends because this potato doesn't do much anyway.
Yeah.
So what would we do other than just keep them from rolling off or running away? But now that he's getting a little bit older and can be more independent, I was like, oh, this is when you start making other friends with other kids, because then your kids can play with each other and you can talk to each other. But it's definitely like a phase of like life thing, right? Where you're going through, you're like, I'm interested in this, or I'm looking for this little micro community. It is fascinating. And I think we don't have generationally, we have so many more ways to connect with people we would have never met before.
Yeah.
But also these like very casual ways that people used to connect with each other are not there as much. So it's like fascinating to see this middle thing grow out where it's different ways for us all to connect.
Yeah. And I think so much more can happen through video. I know many who were our ambassadors and going through this experience were like, I've been part of Facebook groups or text-based groups, but getting to see someone's face, hear their voice, hear their tone is really powerful when you're getting to know someone. So that was cool how that added to the experience for sure.
I mean, video as a whole, this is like obvious at this point, but video as a whole, it's a really big deal. It's been a big deal for a really long time. People have been talking about video content for a really long time. And the thing about Marco Polo is that it just makes it makes it so much easier for you to send and receive those things. And that is the point of it. Instead of like taking your own video and texting it and then being like, oh, did someone see it? What's going on? It's all just kind of there for you in your own little built-in like little safe haven on your phone. And it's so convenient. And I received my invite from my sister.
Okay.
And I think she had sent it to me like twice. And she's like, you need to download this now. This app's amazing. We're all on it. And I was like, okay. I'm on it now. I'm the late adopter in the family and friend group. So I'm usually the last person to download something. But right away, I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. Why is this so easy? And kudos to your team because that's hard.
Well, and this is like one thing we haven't really talked about, and I know we're about to wrap up, but I'm curious about your own internal Marco Polo community. Like,
Yeah.
What's your company like? What do what's it like interacting with your coworkers? How does Marco Polo factor into your like actual work on Marco Polo?
Yeah. So we use Marco Polo, Slack, Zoom are like our primary tools of communication, but we're totally remote. There's about 50 of us working across North America. And we meet for like a company stand up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We all pop on Zoom and we start these calls with like appreciations and celebrations. So a big part of our company culture is this idea of working joyfully. And so we are recognizing each other, like what we're doing. We actually have a Marco Polo group called like appreciations where we can pop on there and like appreciate different work by different coworkers, which is really fun.
That's
and then
awesome.
we'll have Marco Polo groups based on different projects we're working on. So the community team has one, the marketing team, the engineering team, we've got a bug reporting group where you can pop in there like this isn't working right. And so that's been really cool as well. And it's allowed me to get to know my coworkers in such a different way. So we're able to see, this coworker's got 4 cats, or, this one has different kids, or their backyard has a fun koi pond in it. And so that's been fun to get to know them each as individuals through their background on polos. So I love that. And then we get together once a year for a company retreat, which is always like 3 days in a location where we refocus on our purpose. And so that's been really fun to get to see people in person then too.
Yeah,
it's funny that you say that your company leads with joyfulness, because so does ours.
Yeah.
And in our versions of those, our Slack channels, like our random channel right now is popping off because everyone's talking about sports they never heard of, like wife carrying. It's one.
It started with ferret trouser.
No, that was a reply. It started with I don't know what started it, but it's now all of a sudden I was sitting on my computer and I could just hear like if my Slack's up and loud and it's like ping, ping, ping. And I'm like, either there's a fire somewhere or someone's like everyone's laughing in one of the random channels. And sure enough, there's like videos of people zorbing. Yeah. It's the best way because and you were talking at the very beginning about how work and life overlap. And that's kind of the case for work. We spend so much time with our coworkers that of course you're going to get to know them on some sort of personal level. And once you really start building that humanization type of trust where you're like, you've got your stuff, I've got my stuff, it's just so much easier to work with one another. You know them on a deeper level and you're like, no, I have some context about this situation and this person and I really get along.
So Mal's family, my family, we all share some like very interesting overlaps. One is that IBM plays a pivotal role in both of our lives. My great grandfather, talking about like community and work.
Yeah.
My great grandfather played in the band for IBM. And they ended up like traveling. He was like he was a musician and he played in the band. My grandmother then went on to IBM and she was like on the basketball team. And they had an IBM basketball team that would compete against other like corporate basketball teams. Wow. And it's just like, we think that we invented this stuff, but like there's these corporate campuses where people lived their entire lives doing only things with the people that they worked with. And it's just so funny. Like, we're like, yes, we're out here innovating. Right. We should get together and have a soccer team. And it's like, call me when you're touring the country,
Right. Tell me when your band's coming out with a whole fresh new set,
It was like a big, like 50s, 60s, like brass band. It was so wild.
That's amazing.
I know. Get Tracy talking about it. She'll tell you it all.
Yes, please.
Meagan, speaking of community, thank you so much for sharing some of your time with us. What a fun way to connect with like someone from an app that continues to be so important in our lives and our friends' lives. And it sounds like so many other people's lives too. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's so awesome to chat with both of you and to know that you're such fans of Marco Polo as well. And they've helped your relationships also.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We love that.
Feel free to use this as a user case.
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, you can subscribe to No Surprises wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch this delightfulness on YouTube. Our website is weekofthewebsite.com, and you will also find us on Instagram at Week of the Website. And maybe Marco Polo if we become for real friends.